All right, guys, let's do some hand history review here. We've got deuce 4 suited somewhere. Hopefully it's not here. Funky junkies in the tank. Call, squeeze. How does somebody have 4 deuce suited here, guys? Come on. It wasn't the initial opener. Now it's a good hand. Somebody played 2 loose here. Okay, looks reasonable from the initial opener. He went for B60. Now we've got like 1.3x pot to play, 1.2. Okay, yes, sir. So this is very loose poker playing. The pocket 5s did a good job. Ace 10 did a good job. Deuce 4, I don't want you in there. Flatting pre-flop, sneaky hand. You're not even that really that deep. Once you get post-flop, and also 6-4, if we do squeeze, you went 67, call, 210. I mean, it's not that far off. We could squeeze something like 5-6 suited if we're super deep. I don't love it. 4-way is at like 100. 100 straddles. Here, I think we're 5, 10, 20. But in any case, yeah, you're not that far off with the 6-4 suited. We're way far off with the deuce 4, 2 loose. Gonna get in trouble making those calls with a 2 and a 4 in your hand. The in-position players can just wake up with any kind of suited Broadway, any pair, whatever, and kind of give you a tough time. And then again, when it gets back to you, it is small, but still, you have a 2 and a 4. The old steel wheel draw is a little overrated. Definitely gonna pitch that one pre-flop. So I'll give A+, ace 10, open and fold to a squeeze. Good job. A+, pocket 5s, open and call the squeeze. Good job. B- for 6-4 suited, missed it by a pip or 2. Sorry, deuce 4 suited, you're getting a D. Maybe a D-. I'm sorry. Next hand. Next hand. All right, somebody's got queens that makes quads, exciting, and also likely no one's making a massive mistake here because we don't have 2-4. Okay, we got 10, 20, 40 going here. The one deal 140 open. There's an ante too, right? So yeah, like it. I like opening big with the ante game. Okay, we're going 3 ways. 3 ways at SPR about 14. Looks pretty reasonable for the initial opener to be 50. Button call. Again, size is looking very reasonable. I like it. 7-6 deuce isn't really the type of flop where the initial opener would have had to be too passive, as opposed to something like 7-6-3, 7-6-4, 7-6-5, 7-6-8, where the big blind's completing a straight with all those offsuit combos. Now, let's see who has quads here. Is it OOP or IP? I assume it's IP. If I have quads here, I'm going for a gigantic raise as the in-position player, not... Okay, so it's going to be the initial opener. So, yeah, again, I would have just put it all in, not save myself that little $4.99. We gave him a little discount there. But in any case, yeah, this hand just looks like very well played by the initial opener who has queens there. Again, Now we've got a 6-4 suited in the mix of diamonds, but that one was much more reasonable, but I would just call the river. That's not really a bluff hand. Like, potentially fold the turn, or maybe fold the turn a lot versus somebody that you don't perceive to have a lot of different bluffs. How that one should probably play would be kind of how it played, honestly. The initial opener can check raise the flop. I would probably go for a check raise more often than not, but having a bigger bet and even mixing a smaller bet is fine. 6-4 suited, that deep pre-flop, totally fine. Almost mandatory-ish to flat it. And then on the flop, easy call. On the turn, your 4 is fine. You know, if you make 2 pair, it's pretty clean. It's not like the initial opener is supposed to have 8-5 suited or anything like that. It makes it straight. But you're no back, you know, really just drawing. If you're behind, you're really just trying to make a 4 or a 6 that's drawing pretty thin on a turn, and you're facing an early position opener that barreled a queen, which should have been kind of a good card for your range, where you have the like king of spades queen, ace of spades queen, just ace queen anything, calling B50 on the flop. He bet multi-way, then he barreled a pretty scary turn card, and then he barreled again for the small bet on the queen river. So even if we do have, like, let's say best case scenario for us as the in position player, unless this was just like, obviously to me it wasn't value, it was a bluff, we would just want to use something that like can't win, right? We would want to use something like 4-5 as a bluff, maybe. Just trying to fold out another hand that we beat that can't call, like an 8-9, 9-10 type. Because here, even if we run into pocket eights, certainly if we run into like king 7 suited or ace 7 suited, we are going to get called, right? He bet 800 and like whatever it was, 2,500 or 2,100. He went somewhere between, you know, B30 and B40 on the river, and then we made a small raise. It went from 8 to, you know, 2,700 or so. So we're not getting folds from any of the pocket pairs that we're looking to get folds from. We're certainly at this point a hand like any sort of 7, whether it's 7-8 suited, 6-7 that got quote unquote counterfeited, or ace 7 suited, whatever you want to call it. That 7 that our initial opener can have is a great hand to call your raise with. And then pocket 8s, pocket 9s, pocket 10s wouldn't be very exciting, but for that kind of size, we would just get called, right? So if you feel like your opponent's capable of bluffing this line and then capable of bluffing for the small size on the river, we want to just call. Exploitatively, I would say most people don't have that small size river bluff, which means we kind of just want to pitch it and probably pitch it on the turn. All right, now let's go to the next one. Maybe on this one we can, all right, so we've got 2, so now we're just in a, appears to be a gigantic anti 2-blind game. Interesting. Okay. There's 10 in the middle, 0.5, 0.5. Okay. I was worried this might be a short deck hand, but I see a 4. I'm assuming it's the out of position player that has the pocket 6s here, because checking the turn in position with pocket 6s would be a little bit bizarre. You could just put in a small bet and kind of go from there. Yeah, it's going to be the out of position player. I don't know. Okay, wow, that's just a massive cooler. Both played it well, I would say. A little bit overly tricky on the turn by the 6s. I'd probably just put in like a quarter pot bet, something like that. But in any case, yeah, that's just a really unlucky hand, and all the money's going to get in every single time, especially when the one-liner straight. Let's skip to the river here and just have showdown and see what happens. Maybe I'm not going to do that because now I'm making it even more confusing. All right, so here, oh, that's our initial line. Sorry, I messed up. I clicked on the wrong hand. Let's not skip to the river. Let's just watch all the hands. Sofa King is a good screen name. I like it. And now we've got a limp, which now in this huge ante game, we definitely want to have some limping. I like it. I'm hoping that when I get to play today, it's a big ante game, so I can bust out some limps, play a bunch of hands, increase that VPIP. Exciting. Now this is wild, and this is why the big ante game is so awesome. You've got now a limp, back raise. This is great stuff. And now we're going to play SPR 0.6 on the flop on an ace-high board. Sofa King, I guess, can have some suited ace-X. He certainly isn't going to get there with, like, ace-jack off or anything like that. Let's see here. What do we got? Oh, my goodness. That is way out of line, guys. That is crazy play. That is a crazy play. Once you get the ace-8 deuce with the heart, maybe put him in, yeah. But I don't like it pre-flop. Way too loose. We need to have good hands. We want to have good hands. Maybe I shouldn't tell you guys this before I play against you, but we want to have good hands when we play big pots. Is that crazy? I don't know. I don't think it's that crazy. I like to have good hands when I play big pots, and then sometimes have a bad hand. That's called a bluff, right? Not always have a bad hand. Let's not do that. Oof, I was cold when we started. Now I'm getting a little hot. 4:30 a.m. local time here. Got up early for you guys today. All right, we've got the giant ante. We've got limpers. I love it. I love this game. This is why this game's awesome. You need that big ante to make it happen. I love the husky image here. And now we're going 4 ways. Still deep with most players. Crazy pre-flop action. We got a B50 from the shortest stack involved. I would assume this flop, ace 3-7, it's so disconnected. We want to just play. I would play a tiny bet as that player, like maybe just betting like 15-20% of the pot, because everyone else is in such a difficult situation when they have unpaired high cards or even a middle pocket pair, something like that. You don't really need a big bet, and the 7x turn versus the cutoff, not really that alarming. And now the cutoff does go for 13% pot. So interesting spot here for in position. I would just raise all of my like ace 10 plus for sure, maybe ace jack plus. I wouldn't have checked like many big hands on the turn. Just the nature of the board. Let's see what we got here. Ooh. Yeah, ace-5 is a crazy fold. Just because, I mean, at that point, you bet 13% pot and you faced like a basically R50. I think it was, yeah, he made it, 1,000 into 2,000. So the ace-5, you got to just kind of call it as a bluff catcher, especially because the thing that's most relevant here, honestly, is that the in-position player, with logical ranges, will have high cards as a bluff. So your 5 if you're not beating value with an ace, right? Like let's say we had like a ace 8 or a ace 10 or something like that, and we don't think our opponent's going to raise a worse ace, then our 5 actually becomes very good. Because if we think that our in-position player is going to have stuff like his hand or queen jack or queen 10 or whatever, we'd honestly, if we're just bluff catching, we'd rather just have ace rag than we would have, something ace 10-ish. It really depends what the in-position player is going to have for value. Like I said, I think the in-position player, he just can't really get to the river with a big ace. So if you can't get to the river with a big ace and we have the ace 5, it actually ends up kind of being a nice value or a nice bluff catcher. So I would have called that one, but easy to say when you can see the cards, right? All right, let's go to the next one. I'm not going to get fancy and try to see the showdowns because I tried it once and it didn't work. More limpers, huge ante. I love this. I really hope this is the game I'm about to play. If I get tossed in a no ante game, I'm going to be very sad because this game's way more fun, way more action. And you get this crazy stuff happening like, limps and limp raises and ISOs, and it's just awesome. Like now we're going 2-2-2-64. I love it. I love it. I love the huge size. And now we've got a little limp raise here from the short stack. This is why this game's so awesome. So he can do this, of course, or he or she, anyone, can do this with, at this depth, too, like, I think the size is fine, that little size. I do think maybe I would go a little bigger just because it's not like the small blind. Anytime you have the small blind, like, if you think that they have something that I would call like a linear range, right, like a bunch of good suited stuff, a bunch of pairs, not really much garbage, like offsuit stuff, you want to go a little bigger because otherwise you're just always getting called if they have that kind of range, right? So maybe making it a little bit more expensive, but at this depth, not that big of a deal. Ace 10-10 should be very good for that initial limp raise, assuming they have some ace king off in that range and stuff like that. If somebody does have that play under the gun, you would think that they're going to build, partially ace king, ace queen off, maybe even some ace x low suited type stuff. So the ace 10-10 is quite a good board for the initial limper, and then the raise, and then out of position, having now defended, we're going to expect to see a showdown of potentially a couple big to medium ace x. In position can kind of have everything here, right? He can have king, queen, jack, ace, queen. And we see now very standard for both players, except for just put the ace, king, you just kind of put yourself through a bunch of pain. I would have ISO'd the 10-9 suited and then lost money there as 10-9 suited. I probably would have, it got back to me, I would have called the 180 with 10-9 suited. And lost a giant pot, so good for you, 10-9 of clubs. You kind of got out of the way there, but yeah, just put the ace king off in pre-flop. You don't want to make it 64 or 180, call out of position with an offsuit hand that blocks aces and kings, and you're just kind of trying to maybe mitigate the variance of having a flip, but you're playing a cash game and you're out of position, and ace king off out of position is just not a very exciting hand. I would rather just kind of rip that in there, and if it's a flip, it's a flip. If he's bluffing, it's really nice to take it down. Even if he's bluffing with something like ace 5 suited, ace 4 suited, maybe he does have some like, limp re-raise with people behind him with some other garbage type stuff that you're clearing out. Maybe some, these games are a little bit crazy with the huge ante, so maybe if someone has something like, a jack 9 suited in the limp raise range or something like that, it would be a massive win for ace king off to just kind of take it down pre-flop. So don't get overly cautious with ace king offsuit, especially pre-flop. If you were in position, I'd kind of be fine with it, but even still for that amount, I would just put it in. All right. Somebody's got 10-8 off. Let's see if somebody's being a bad boy. Hope it's not the limper. A much more reasonable 7 ante here. Or that's no ante. Yeah. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Okay, somebody flopped a boat, and I hope it's this player because otherwise somebody made a big mistake. Okay, all good so far. It's definitely going to be this player here that has the boat, and now he's going to try to figure out how to get paid. He just goes for something like B66, B70, or sorry, B70, which is fine. Now he gets raised on the river, which can be Jack-9. It can be a bluff, maybe a little ace-queen, king-queen that was getting a little tricky pre-flop. Again, we see this thing where we make it 487. Just put it in on the river. Just don't cost yourself that extra money. What an amazing fold from Jack-9 there. A bad limp pre-flop. You don't want to play those hands, but unbelievably correct fold. I would never fold that hand. It's not that you beat value or anything really, but like you're just getting a price. You raise the river. If you do start making folds like that, it gets really dangerous. It's hard to defend yourself. Ace King was in there trying to get the limp raise in, which I don't advocate for doing in non-ante straddle games. There's just, you know, you want to play tight aggressive in non-ante straddle games and not have that limp. It's a really big difference the way your pre-flop strategy should look when you're talking about this ante versus non-ante game. The ante game, and sometimes when I talk about these things and I'm looking at the replayer because I'm not really used to the software, I could be wrong about the structure of the game, but I think this was just a non-ante game. So let's assume it was a non-ante game. You don't want to play any limps. And then as soon as you go to those big ante structures that we do have sometimes on this site, then you want to play a lot of limps. And the reason where the limps are coming from and the no limps are coming from is it's just straight up odds that you're getting pre-flop, right? So if you're getting good odds pre-flop because there's a giant ante in there, or even a medium-sized ante, you're going to mix in some limps because you just want to play more hands. It's as simple as that. And then if you want to play more hands, you're going to start to limp some strong hands like ace king off and stuff so that you can also limp low suited connectors, low suited ace-x, some bad offsuit ace-x, maybe some offsuit broadways and stuff like that, some suited kings, suited queens, depending on the position that you're in. As the later you get, the more hands that you want to play, because if there's a big ante in there, you're just getting a price to call. And so anytime you want to increase your VPIP, you want to be due to the price that you're getting, you want to also protect your limping range with some really strong hands, right? So that's where all this limping should come from, and then having some tricky. It's not just I have ace king off, I'm going to limp out of the gun in a no ante games to trick everybody. That's not really the case, because at that point, again, no one should be coming in on the button with Jack-9 off either. That's just a bad hand, bad price, no ante, etc., etc. But you're free rolling the big blind. You're not getting in. You think you're being tricky with ace king off, but like it's actually, you know what's better? To raise, get 3-bet. Then you can 4-bet, you can shove, stuff like that with no ante. Take it down, protect your hand, play a single raise pot or a multi-way pot versus ranges that you actually dominate, and not letting the big blind in there with like 8-4 off type stuff. That's all really important to your win rate and to your strategy, right? So anytime I see that in the no ante game, I always want to point out that, yeah, no, we don't want limps, especially from early, but not anywhere else either. Okay, now what? Okay, we've got ace king, ace 5-4, deuce deuce. Looks like this hand's gonna win, but it's a little bit of a scary board, and we've got the ante here. Looks like an ante of 15. Or no, it's the huge ante. Yeah, it's the small blind, the table times the small blind. Yep. Sorry. So 40 in the ante. This is where we want the limps. We're getting that great price. We're going to build a range that's super mixed up. We're going to be tricky. Now let's see which player does actually have the limp here. It's not going to be our in position or our initial limper unless he decided not to go for the limp raise, which would be, again, like a big mistake in my opinion. Okay, very reasonable small bet when check two as the ISOer. This would be, even when you ISO a passive board, ace, wheel, wheel, you're going to have a lot of your range in pocket pairs and suited Broadway, suited connectors that just don't have good removal to C-bet. You're going to check fold a bunch of pocket pairs in that setup. You're going to check fold your suited Broadways. You're going to not want to have a lot of C-bet bluffs on an ace 5-4 here. You're going to want to play your range a little bit more what we would call polar. And, you know, just putting money in with good ace-x this deep. This min raise, we would want to try to probably choose a size that's much, much bigger. Now, I'm assuming okay. So yeah, so we've got to try to get way more money in the pot with those pocket twos. Like I said, I don't mind obviously, so we went ISO, C-bet, the twos with the spade, with a gutter, backdoor flush draw, everything going on. Everything's good until the river. Well, turn and river, right? Turn, if I'm pocket twos, knowing about this ISO range, like this ISO range doesn't really have a 3. You know, it's got some ace 3, maybe pocket 3s, but not a lot of hands compared to the range. And so when we get to the turn, we want to start building a pot for something like ace king. If we do get to the river and the pot's this small, you have to look at your pocket twos and make a gigantic raise. Like gigantic, right? You have to make sure that when our opponent, Luka Modric, whatever, however we say that, we want to make sure if he has his hand down to whatever, you know, pocket sixes through kings, any ace-x type stuff, we need to make sure we have pocket deuces. If he has something like pocket fives, pocket fours, pocket aces, he's going to put the rest. We just want to make a raise where it's a huge raise that he calls with ace-x, but also we're not really worried about him just like calling with pocket fours. And if he does, whatever, I would have made it honestly like something crazy, you know, 2x pot, 3x pot type raise, because you just have such a good hand to try to get paid. So it's very, very different than getting to this river with ace. Say you were the end position player and you had like ace queen, ace king, and you're trying to get paid. Now you have that ace, which is blocking that top pair that the out of position player can call you with. And obviously you don't beat a 3, but let's just say that you know that you have the best hand with something like ace king on the river if you had somehow overcalled pre-flop. That one is not as good of a candidate to just absolutely blast money in, because you have the cards in your hand that you're trying to get called by. When you have 4 twos, the other guy can have every ace in the deck. You don't have any removal issues. You can just absolutely blast it and get paid, right? So we got to do that when we have quads, not min raise the river. We've seen that now 3 times. Don't be afraid when you have a good hand. Quads again, back-to-back quads. Don't be afraid when you have a good hand to put in a bunch of money, right? All right, we're in the ante game again. Love it. Or no, are we? All right, so we've got a limp, a smaller ISO, we'll call the limp raise, 6x. Size looks fine. good. I would think the in-position player is the player that has sixes here. And yeah, so, you know, if it is the in-position player, I wouldn't do anything other than call that raise or call that bet. We're trying to let him catch up. I would bet the turn because at this point it's kind of like I'm trying to stack an overpair. I'm not. I think that one of the things that happens is a lot of times we've seen it already is that this, you know, it's a little bit, a lot of times we're getting a little bit too tricky, too trappy, too sneaky with the big hands. And then again, we're not putting all the money in on the river, guys. Come on. We got to put the money in. Every time this guy has a flush or you're cooler to him, you're costing yourself money when you have these sixes. And he folded. Oh my God. The nut flush. Okay, so now we know. Okay, so we need to bet the turn with the sixes for the reasons I said. You got to try to stack the guy cooler. I mean, you would have stacked him, right, if you start betting. You don't want to get, he limp raised from early. A bulk of his range is just ace, king, ace, queen off in pairs. Ace, king, ace, queen off can have a heart on the turn. So we're just going to get value from those. If they don't, they're probably not going to pick up the river by bluffing. So it's okay to lose some of those hands. And just because also with the rest of your range, you'd want to throw out a bet there to kind of clear those hands out. But what we're seeing here is a crazy fold on the river, thinking that his opponent doesn't have bluffs, where you should just have, you know, pocket sevens, no heart for a bluff. You're gonna have to bluff something here, right? You might have any sort of queen jack, king jack, ace jack of diamonds hand, any sort of diamonds hand, you know, ace 10, king 10, whatever diamonds that didn't decide to bluff the turn, that you would have ISO'd, called the flop with that backdoor. You'd have 7-8 nothing, right? 7-8 suited, 7-8 spades, right? Which you should bet the turn with quite a bit as well. But in any case, if you're the aces here, even if you're playing against somebody that you don't think bluffs much, like you got to call it. You got to just protect yourself. What an incredible fold. We've seen two folds like this that are just wild. The Jack 9, not nearly as crazy as this one, just because Jack 9, no removal, never beats value. I'm slightly concerned my opponent might just have King Queen with a heart or something like that, because I bet so small and then got raised. Like I could potentially beat value. Looks like this player knew or thought they would never beat value, so then they just have like a pure bluff catcher. But in any case, even if this is a bluff catcher, it's a call. You have to call. You literally have to, the only better stuff you have would be ace of hearts plus a pair, which you just kind of don't really have, right? Maybe ace of hearts, jack of clubs, ace of hearts, 10 of clubs, stuff like that. But those are better. You aren't going to have any sort of like ace 4 off or ace 6 off, of course, which would make sense to call with. But if you ever had got there, but you're not getting there. So yeah, seeing a little bit of trying to make crazy hero folds, and some far too tricky with value is a big theme in this little batch of hand histories. All right, looks like we've got a little micro stakes game here. All good. Where I came up playing. Okay, so for the Razor, obviously 3 Broadway board should just be a great board, and I'm already alarmed if I'm playing against somebody that kind of knows what they're doing and I'm the initial raiser. I get a king 10 jack. I'm thinking it's really hard for people to have bluffs in these spots, as opposed to the other spots we've talked about where I don't really want to make big folds. This one's quite different. I would be probably trying to fold a lot of stuff on the flop already. I bet multi-way. I ISO'd, I bet multi-way. I got raised by an in-position guy. Really strong range there. He's going to have to start pulling bluffs from stuff like 9-10, queen 10, ace-x nut flush draw, pocket fours with a heart type of thing. And yeah, I wouldn't raise the flop with king queen. Great fold on the turn. Just a well-played hand. I think that hand was fine. The lead on the turn makes a bit of sense too. I wouldn't like to lead with so many of the cards on the board in my hand, right? Like I have a king and there's 2 10s on the board and I have a 10 as well. Just blocking so many continues, I would tend to rather kind of slow play that one. If my opponent is running a bluff with like 4s with a heart, maybe they'll put more money in. If they're running a bluff with something like ace-5 of hearts or ace-6 of hearts, they'll put more money in maybe. If they were running a bluff like jack-9 or queen-9, they'll put more money in. If I have them beat and coolered, ace-queen, queen-9, they're going to stack themselves anyway, right? So the lead on the 10 does make sense. I would just not do it with a king in my hand also. But the lead makes sense just because we don't think our in-position player is raising a 10 too often. If we think he's raising a naked king, for our range, the 10 makes a lot of sense. But in general, I would stick to probably playing that turn as a check with my range. Even a 10's not very exciting to start stacking off there. Okay, we've got, somebody's got king, queen. I think this is probably going to be the last one we do for this batch of hand histories. 10, 20, 40. Big raise, call, call, call. All right, that initial opener, yeah, the initial opener and the early position guys don't really want to be betting too often here, although, you know, in theory, they should be the tightest ranges, the first 2 flatters. In practice, sometimes in these games, they get a little bit wide. Again, with the flush completer, queen, jack, jack 4 as the initial raiser, I probably would have been quite passive. Although I think this is the straddle, actually. Even still, the straddle, I would, with that many players behind, I would just kind of always be checking this position, whether I was straddle or whether I was early raiser. Now we've got a basically 50% pot bet, which is putting the initial player all in. The out of position player has a decision to make. I assume he's the player with king queen, which I would not have bet the turn with. And then yeah, the initial ISO has aces. So good value bet by the aces. Tough to get paid there, but for B50 I kind of like it. King queen, just put too much money in, or sorry, yeah, you know, I don't mean good value bet when the jack pairs. So you had the top boat. So king queen on the turn is just a little bit like, I would rather check, see what happens behind me with all those players behind me on a flush completer, and also just like the early position players should have slow plays on the flop there. It's not like when they check they can never have a jack or pocket 4s. And then certainly flushes, right? So way too aggressive out of position on the queen turn, whether you're the initial opener or whether you're the big blind. In either one of those scenarios, we're certainly going to want to check the king queen. It's really hard for us to get continues by worse hands. It's too much money to put in the pot for 2 streets on a flush completer with trips out there. So yeah, check that one and try to win a small pot even by showing down. Not a hand, not the type of hand class you want in a deep multi-way pot on a paired board with a flush out there. So unfortunately, that one, I think we put in way too much money. But that'll do it for the hand history review here. And we're going to move on to fire up a session. All right. Ah, nice picture of me and my dog. My wife made this. He's going to play with me today. His name is Flirkin. I will ask him advice. My real dogs might come up in a little bit. Got 2 border collies, but they're sleeping because it's 5 a.m. Okay. We have someone to play with. And I never know what's happening when I first sit down with this action. I think we're heads up. 100 straddles deep. So I defended. This is fun. We're playing poker. We're playing poker with Flurkin. I have a fold. Now we're three-handed with Flurkin. We're four-handed if you count Flurkin. I might bring my real dogs out, like I said. All right, okay. Heads up, one more hand. I won. I had a good hand for heads up at ace-9. I'm down 30. I'm just going to be clicking buttons all day here. Ooh, that is a large raise, my friend. I'm out. I like your cat. All right. I don't like my sizes here. I have to choose something. That one looks good. Another good hand for Nicky B. Ace-10. Ace-10, baby. Fold. How do I get this little present out of here? I don't like that. Three-handed. 10, 20, 30. I love it. We're playing the small blind ante game. Now we've got more players coming. I'm out. We'll see what's going on here. Always like to pay attention to what our opponents are doing, right? I have found a hand to open with, but I can't say more. Looks like I've been 3-bet to a large size. And I have a friend, Semi-Bluff, who's coming in deep stack with me. I love it. He's got a motorcycle. I played in July. Okay, I have a set. Sorry, man. I'm sorry. Unfortunate. I was still afraid I was going to misclick there. All right. Check my option. My mouse seems to be floating around quite a bit, which is concerning. Let's see a turn here. Let's just see one turn. Safe turn for somebody. Let's see a river. open. No! Nice hand, sir. I thought I might have beat a 9 there. Limping is pimping, according to Daniel Negreanu. Limping is pimping. Check it. Like to check these low boards, OOP. Now we're facing the pot size bet. I'm going to do a couple different things here. This time I'm going to call. Another big bet. Again, I'm going to do a couple of different things here. This time I'm going to call. And that's a safe river for somebody. All right. I had the double gutty, baby. Nice hand. Taking on my profits already. How many chips do you have, sir? I believe not enough. I believe it's just not enough chips. Not enough chips. Deeper I would have called. Had a nice hand for a nice deep stack pot. All right, let's see a flop. Let's just see one. You guys have fun. Have fun. Have fun. I'm out. Flurkin's making me hot. I'm going to put him on the side here. Even that price, I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. So sad. I misread the action there. I'm a fish. I'm a fish. I gotta get used to the software and stop being a fish. Is Semi-Bluff somebody I feel like I played with you, Semi-Bluff, before. Did I play with you in July when I did this stream? What's going on here? I remember the motorcycle. I think it's you, man. I think it was. I'm not even joking. I battled with Semi-Bluff last time I played this game. Absolutely battled. I feel like he got the best of me, too. I needed some kind of indication in the chat if this is true or not. But I'm afraid to click anything because I'll just make the whole software explode. 9-3 is not a good hand. Are you saying something, Semi-Bluff? Was it you, man? Was it you I was battling with in July? Did I buy you that motorcycle? I might have. I might have bought you that motorcycle, dude. I lost some huge pots in July. I sucked. I played bad. I'm a fish. I lost a gigantic pot. Semi-Bluff. We need more guys with 20,000, not 2,000. We want to play a poker game here nice and deep. Semi-Bluff obliges. Ooh, he's in the bank. Let's play it. Let's sweeten it a little bit. A little pot sweetener here. Alrighty. Let's go with half. If I go half, half again. I had a 5 in my hand. Nothing. I had nothing. And 66 is coming out with a 77. I love it. No presets for this player. I love it. I love the 77. Oh my God, it's 5:30. I just got hungry. All right. Check, coming with the big bet. OP. Winner, take it down. I love it. The game's getting a little bit. We're loosening up here. We're loosening the game up. I wish I could communicate with Semi-Bluff to figure out if he was my. Now I have some. I'm playing too slow. Don't. Okay. Now I'm in the chat. Semi-Bluff, are you going to. Who's talking here? All right. I'm going to play as fast as you. Faster than you've ever seen. Sorry. Okay. Okay. I'm just going to start clicking buttons fast. Okay. Check. Check again. Slow play. Slow play. Slow play, no pay. Slow play, no pay. I had a bluff, pre-flop bluff. Nothing. But that time I didn't like the board. Okay. 3-bet time. You bluff me? You bluff me? I don't think so. I'm playing fast now. I have aces. I have aces! Oh no! I don't want insurance, no. If you suck out, good for you. Unlucky, my friend. 7-8 suited, thank God I protected my hand. love the chat. I love the chat. Check. I'm playing. I'm going to put a speed clinic on today. Check. Check. Semi-bluff, I think you're my old friend. I bought you that motorcycle. Call. Bluff. Did you call? Okay, show my face. Call. Family pot. Nope, no longer. No longer a family pot. I'm out. Nope, bad hand. I'm out. We need more players. We need some deep stack. Let's get some deep stack players in here, guys. Come on. Somebody fill these seats. I'm good with checking. Check again. Now I'm gonna bet. I had it. I had it. I had it. I win? Oh my goodness, you sneaky semi-bluff. Check. Call. Check. I had it straight. Oh my God. Slow play, no pay. Semi-bluff, my nemesis. My nemesis. I never win off this guy. Never, ever, ever. All right, I'm out. I'm out on this one. Okay, what am I in position? I'll allow it. In position again. All right, I had it. I had it. I had it. I'm out. I would have had a flush. That's very sad. Price of poker's going up, guys. Oh my goodness, Semi-bluff, you are a savage, man. You are a savage. That is a brutal cooler. That's quite a trap. You were trapping me. And I would have beat you. I had King 10. I would have beat you. Price of poker's going up again. Take it down. Take it down. I'm out. You guys have fun. All right. What am I doing here? What am I doing here? What am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? Okay, I'm going to raise. King, queen, guys. King, queen. Good hand. We've got one customer only. Hit you with the 230. You're out. I had a good card. That's a good card on that board. Woohoo! Check. 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 I win? Never know with semi-bluff. He could be trapping me. Wouldn't have been surprised to see ace-jack there from semi-bluff trying to get me. He tricks me all the time. Call. Check. That one took a while. I wasn't sure what to do. I'm gone. I'm gone. Let you guys battle it out. First big pot I wasn't involved in here. I like it. All in on the turn. Tricky, tricky. Not getting any advice from me on this one. Nice hand, nice line. Interesting. I see and has added on. Okay, I'm out. Oh, man. Looking pretty standard there, guys. Unlucky. Okay, everybody wins a little bit. Semi-bluff, I'm not even going to take the bait, man. I'm out. Not going to get me this time. Next time, maybe next time.